Hey, good morning, guys. It's Jamie, and this is Saturday Morning Counseling. Pre-recorded, just for you. So anyway, today we have grown-up edition counseling. And the reason why I say that is because some people can be a little squeamish around conversations that have to do with physical intimacy, deep intimacy, vulnerability, and it can make them like, oh my God, do we have to talk about this? Like, yeah. We got to talk about this. So we got to put up our grown-up outfits on today, and we are going to discuss these issues at the surface because there's some things that go in depth that's in private, but at the surface so that we can help you with some of your relationship issues, primarily marital issues. So if you guys saw, I posted up, I said, I want to prepare you for today's counseling. And I think it's going to segue into a series called The Doctor. And I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll figure it out. We'll see what the Lord wants to do. Well, I posted the little clip about the doctor, and he was a very successful cardiologist who had an awesome practice, was highly revered throughout the hospital, but had a very cold demeanor. Everything was a case, and that was it. He was very disconnected, and that was it. He excelled at what he did, but he didn't know how to treat people. And truth be told, he really wasn't living. Well, a turn of events happened in his life, and he became terminally ill. And when he became terminally ill, he had to go through radiation therapy, the oncology practice, and he was scared. He didn't know what was happening. It wasn't his area of expertise. He was on the other side of the counter, and this totally changed his perspective about life. Well, as the story has it, he meets a woman who is dying. She also terminally ill, but she was like the light of the office. She would go in and she was the light. She was just beaming, and she always had hope, and he was just not. And she taught him in her death or dying, she taught him what it meant to live. He did not have that type of outlet in his work life, and he did not have that type of relationship with his wife, but he connected with somebody who was going through the same thing as he was. And so in it, her death really kind of awakened him. And when she died, he was alive. He came alive. Like, his whole outlook changed. And you saw the end of the clip where he was like, okay, now you become the patient. People come in, they're scared, they're vulnerable, they don't know what to do, they're embarrassed, they don't understand a thing. And they put their lives in your hands, in our hands. You need to know how it feels. So I want to talk to you about the mutualism. The reason why I prepped you guys with that clip is because you need to know how it feels from the other side. You need to know what that means. And this doctor didn't really know how to treat someone until he became a patient, until he became what he treated. He didn't know. He just had expertise. He had knowledge. And until he really acknowledged the person, until he really acknowledged the pain, the emotion, and everything else, he wasn't whole. A lot of your relationships look like that. So many people, they are so good at doing certain things, but can't handle certain things. In relationships, nakedness is sacredness. You know, a lot of people defiled sexual intimacy, and that's why it's kind of difficult to talk about in church. But on many levels, the sacredness of nakedness, I call it sacredness of nakedness, is creating an environment. And really, it can create an atmosphere, but it creates an environment between the two people, because first it has to start within, and then it has to come externally. A vulnerability, trust, and deep intimacy. Nakedness is a place where when somebody has no masks, they're fully exposed, you can see everything. There's no Adam and Eve leaves and all that other stuff. You can't hide anything. And you have somebody else with their eyes looking at you, looking at them, looking at you. It could be uncomfortable. It really could be uncomfortable. But the ability to do that says that you trust them. I don't want you to stay stuck on the physical intimacy part, the sexual part of it, because it goes deeper than that. When somebody reveals themselves to you in that way, no mask, no pretension, there's no holding back. They are literally standing in front of you naked. And some of you don't know, like, you don't know what to do. You're like, yeah. What's that? And they're like, have you gotten that response from your spouse? Like, they're like, yeah, what's that? And I'm not talking about physical intimacy. I'm talking about creating a connection with your spouse that would allow you to have the intimacy that is connected with vulnerability, trust, and love. A lot of you don't do that. Don't ever get familiar with your spouse's nakedness, because it devastates trust and it devastates vulnerability. When you become familiar with something, you become casual with it, and you could mishandle it. With that, the act of lovemaking, the art, if that's what you want to call it, the art or the beauty of it, comes from a place of need. It really does. It's not only a physical need, hormonal, whatever, but it comes from a deep-seated place of needing to fulfill basically let's call it, fulfill the understanding that, yes, you want me as much as I want you. And when the two come together, it's saying, we need each other. We need each other for this. And I'm not going to go into all the other stuff, but that's what it is. It's saying, you fulfill me in a way where you can only fulfill me. And I can only do that for you. So having a place where you can create an environment of trust is important. If you become casual with your partner, with your spouse or whatever, it just basically says that, yeah, well, that's the usual. It should never, never be just the usual. Never. When you do that, you kind of disregard what it takes to get to that point. And that's the same thing for, excuse me, I just want to check my notes, but that's the same thing for relationships that are, friendship. There must be a level of mutualism. There must be a level of trust. There must be a level of openness where you don't hide things. You don't have to put on a mask and be like, yeah, everything is great. It's great. It's good. I mean, so somebody's pouring out their heart to you and you're just like, yeah, it's great. It's great. It's great. You're a liar. You're a liar. And the reason why people don't want to say much is because they don't want to be exposed. It's not easy to be in friendships where one is standing there bare, naked, with all of their problems, and you're just like, yeah, it's great, and they can see it's not. Where is the mutual trust? Where is the mutual respect? I mean, it's kind of like it's a smack in somebody's face. It really is. If you don't know how to create that environment, walls are eventually going to go up. And when walls go up, you can no longer see anymore. This is what it looks like. When it looks like this, you can't tell, because it says the eyes are like the windows to the soul. And that level of intimacy is a soul connection. It's a spiritual connection. And when you put up blockers or you become familiar with something, it starts to look like this from the other side. You see, I can tilt my eyes and do this, but you're not getting the full appearance of a thing anymore. And because you're not getting the full appearance of the thing anymore, this is where we talk about people who shut down and shut out. They shut down and they shut out because they have created a space, a place for the purity, for confidentiality, for trust, for all of that, to have a mutual exchange. And when that is not reciprocated, when that is not mutual, then they have this place where they are scared to be vulnerable. A lot of relationship issues that have, or issues in relationships that have issues stemming from sexual dysfunction, it's not typically a physical issue. It could be, but it's typically an emotional, mental, or spiritual issue. And until you create the right environment, until you set the right temperature, that issue is not going to change. So you need to learn how to re-see the sacredness of your spouses. And this is a faith-based ministry, so I say spouse. Your spouse's nakedness. You need to really look at it and be like, wow, this is what my spouse is telling me by being open with me. This is what my spouse is physically doing by giving themselves to me. What must you do to reciprocate that so you guys both have the relationship, the environment, the atmosphere that you're looking for? I mean, it's a part of our human nature. God created us to desire to be with someone else, man and wife, and wife and husband. God desired that for us, and he desired us to enjoy it in its totality. But God is concerned with the spiritual and the soul. When he makes those connections, when he makes those connections in the soul and in the spirit, he expects that that ground is maintained all the time. And that's with everything, So if you're simply not getting those results, or you simply don't have what you're looking for, refer to the doctor. You know, he had to know what it felt like. He had to be on the other side of a thing. You can't be the one fully dressed and your spouse there naked, like what are they doing? What are they doing? They're going to feel so uncomfortable that they're going to be like, okay, can we talk now? And you're going to be like, what am I supposed to do with that? And they're going to be like, well, this is how you make me feel. So can we talk now? Some of you guys are going to be like, oh my God, listen, I'm trying to help you. Loosen up a bit, loosen up. But if you cannot create that environment internally, heart to heart, spirit to spirit, mind to mind, the groundwork, that's going to be a little bit of an issue. So I pray that as I've tried to keep this as surface as possible, that if you are one of those relationships, if you are one of those, and I have to be careful about counseling men in this area because of the holiness and the sacredness of it. But if you are one of those women who are going through a relationship where the intimacy is just, it's not there, listen, my inbox is open. Come talk to me. And we'll try to figure out what's going on so that you can make some changes, some strategic changes in your habits and in your lifestyle so that you have the relationship that you really, really want. So I pray that this message blessed you, and look for the rest of this week, the series called The Doctor. You guys have a great day. Bye.